Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's We're Afraid of the Dark. Our Are You Afraid of the Dark? Talk through and review. It's season 4, folks. We are making our way through this show bit by bit. We've got a long way to go still, but season 4, episode 1, The Tale of the Renegade Virus, written by Andrew Mitchell and Jared Lewis and directed by Ron Oliver. So we got a Ron Oliver directed episode, which is always nice to see. We are now in territory, though, where I don't have a clue what I'm watching anymore. There was no way in hell back then I was ever watching it this late in its run, and I certainly do not remember this and later episodes already that I've watched as well. I'm like, wait, what? No idea. This is all brand new to me.
Yeah, I'm somewhat the same in that, like, definitely in the territory of episodes I don't recall actually watching on TV. But because
Hmm.
I have rewatched the show, I think at least maybe 2 times before previously. So I do remember. I remember it all, obviously, but yeah, I don't remember seeing these later ones on TV. So
How interesting. Well, also interestingly, this is the only season premiere to not feature a shake-up of the Midnight Society. Yes, for the first time, nobody's out. It stayed the
hmm.
same. And because of that, I'm going to give you a quick reminder of the characters and the actors because they deserve a shout out occasionally. We have Ross Hollis Gary, Daniel DeSanto as Tucker, Joanna Garcia as Sam, Jason Alasharian as Frank, Jodie Rester as Kiki, and Rain Pierre Poole as Betty Ann. They are still our Midnight Society. So that should be, as we get further on, certainly change the rankings, hopefully significantly as well. If Betty Ann doesn't tell us many in this, who knows? We shall see.
Yeah, I like that they managed to keep the same people. It's nice for consistency. And I did notice also that like doesn't seem like they changed much in their like appearances, even especially like Tucker, considering obviously when we do see him age as the show goes on. I recall. So
Yep.
yeah, it seems like maybe these 2 seasons were filmed maybe back to back possibly.
Or very, if not back to back, they're close. I think you're 100% right there. I think they're very close. If not, there's a high possibility. I'd have to look into it and find that out. But I wonder if they were like, 'cause obviously not necessarily filmed in order either. Production order and airing order are totally different.
Definitely.
Okay, our episode cast. We have Christopher Redmond as Simon, Micah John Gardner as Evan, Paul Cagliette as the Virus, Eric Fink as Mr. Poe, and Melissa Galaneos as Sonia. Okay, so little facts here. Christopher Redmond has been in the show previously. In fact, he was in the show quite recently in our timeline of episode recording. He portrays Simon in this, but he previously portrayed Mike Carter in The Tale of the Crimson Clown. And do you know how bad it is? Did not put it together.
No, not at all. I felt like I did recognize them, but I was like, oh, he must be from like something else. Yeah.
Yeah. The manufacturing company in the locks, Simon Switches, and of course the giant one that's on the bike is called Oliver, which is of course a reference to Ron Oliver.
Hmm.
Ron Oliver has stated he thought this was one of the most fun episodes due to the visuals.
Hmm.
Okay, they ain't that bloody good.
Hmm. Yeah, there's certain things I could see why maybe it was fun to do for some of the actors.
Fair enough. And Eric Fink, who plays Mr. Poe, was in a Goosebumps episode, Phantom of the Auditorium, as Emil. Look, that was so long ago. I
Oh
don't think
yeah.
I'd remember it, aside from the leads.
No, he's like the janitor guy. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Hmm.
remember? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Folks, it's a Gary story. I know you cannot
Oh,
look. You can skip this. You can skip this review if you want. Just go watch
yeah.
something else. I get it.
To be fair though, I don't know. I think this might, give him a little bit of a few points possibly back. Let's
There
see.
are there are moments. Okay, everyone in the camp is actually wondering what Gary is. Tucker says it's because he had to rewrite a book report because his computer has a virus. Every time he tries to print something, apparently the document gets deleted and he has to do it all over again. Stop using the computer, you melt. If it happens once, you don't do it again, do you? And then let it happen again.
That's so Gary.
It is, isn't it? Betty Ann thinks it's scary, and Frank not so much. I'm with Frank here because Betty Ann's like, "Ooh, scary," and I'm like, "What? What?"
Yeah, well, firstly, I have to just mention that I thought this is a really good title compared to like the Dangerous Soup episode from the previous end of season 3, and then the Tale of the Renegade Virus. I think that's quite a nice title.
Yeah,
But secondly, I have to make a mention, and without mentioning it constantly throughout this episode, there's a lot of dated talk in this episode that makes me feel very old, of being of a generation where like I can remember those times, kind of thing. And of course you do as well. Just the way they talk about computers and like how they talk about them in like they're almost an alien technology at that time. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and with that comes some visuals as well. And not the effects visuals, but more the actual standard. Here's what we think VR would look like. Here's a computer designed this, and like yeah, you're not wrong because we get one quite early as Gary arrives frustrated and fills them in, and basically he's kind of got an antivirus called a Virus Doctor, and it's on a floppy disk, which he holds up, and it's like, oh yeah, floppy disks, yes, those
Yeah, and also
things.
I think it's also like relevant, I guess, to the times because it's all about how technology can go rogue and that sort of like maybe Terminator-esque talk or like with the
Yeah.
year 2000 approaching the like Y2K thing. So it's kind of like was clearly like a hot topic of the time. Yeah, and it's like watching this also like I always have to remind myself that none of them have like a phone in their pockets and that kind of thing. It's just like it's kind of wild to like remember that like the difference in time periods and stuff and how different it might have been, if they had phones in their pockets, that just would have made it so different.
You know, that's so clever. I never really give that stop the pause to think about that. But if we ignore the episodes and just take the Midnight Society around the campfire, that never feels dated to me. But you've just nailed it there. They're sitting around a campfire. That's something that could happen right now. And there's no signs of technology. There's nothing there to date it. So I've never really given it much thought. But that, weirdly, the campfire sections alone are as relevant now as they were 20, 30, 40 years ago, if not further.
Mm. Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, he's going to go home, destroy the virus, and find out who planted it in his computer. And here we see Tucker. Smile vanishes from his face, making it clear that it was clearly Tucker. I mean, it ain't take a genius to work that out anyway, as we'll see come the end, as Gary suspects it. But it is story time. A virus is a disease. It gets inside and takes hold. Once it starts spreading, it isn't possible to stop. Viruses jump around, and there's one computer you never want to get a virus in, and it is the human brain. Good speech, Gary. You set up some good intrigue, and I like it.
Good job.
Submit for the approval of the Midnight Society calls the story The Tale of the Renegade Virus. And we begin seeing someone hacking into a school's computer system and implanting a virus into it. What a mystery! We then cut to a teenager named Simon in bed. It's time to get up for school, but he's struggling to get out of bed. Yet, in his half asleep state, is able to somehow sink a basket. And I was like, all right, man, nothing but net. Go on, boy. We didn't get like a weird sort of silliness with the rest of the household, two parents and a sister thing. This was weird. It's kind of like the way the music plays, the way it filmed. It felt like a sitcom-y. Do you remember it reminded me of Home Alone 2. Did Home Alone 2 to showcase everyone stressing about being late. They speed up the footage where everyone's kind of just running
Mm,
around and bouncing off each other. It looks terrible and it's not done
mm.
very well in Home Alone 2. That's what this weirdly reminded me of, except it's not quite it, but it just reminded me of it.
Yeah, I can see that. Also, I think this is like probably the most pointless of like setups of like a family unit in any episode where it's kind of like it's so not really relevant to anything that
Yeah.
happens particularly.
Well, I initially had the parents and sisters credited in the credits bin. By the end, I removed them all. I was like, I don't need to add them. They are literally
Mm,
irrelevant to the story. And I agree. This felt like padding.
mm. Yeah, I mean, it's very strange.
Because Simon leaves for school, meeting his friend Evan, and tricks him into getting his bike, which results in Evan being late at school. It turns out they do this kind of things to each other, and it's payback for Evan putting an egg in Simon's shoe the other day. So they like playing pranks at each other in a certain way. And it's certainly not over yet, as Simon also switched the locks on the lockers, and now Evan can't get into his. Okay, that's fine. Don't mind the setup, but I got well confused there because suddenly I see that Simon isn't the main character. Evan is, as we switch perspective to him. Now, this actually is going to work to the episode's favor, where technically they end up sharing the lead role back and
Mm.
forth in quite a well connected story.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
But a girl named Sonia now arrives, and Evan is all tongue-tied, but he does manage to ask if she's going with anyone to the game on Saturday. But it turns out she is. She's going with Simon. And in one of those I don't like scenes like this, Evan's response to this is to get angry. Like, not with them, they walk off. He gets angry and starts muttering to himself. Don't
Mm.
do that. It's weird, man. Like, I can understand him being a bit hurt because he's a kid and whatever, and she's going with Simon and he's jealous, but he's like, he sees a little bit. He's like, oh, Simon doesn't. I'm like, whoa, dude, chill out. And considering what happens later on, it makes it a little bit worse to reflect on when it's like he's getting angry with Simon because Simon asked her out first.
Yeah.
Evan is now late for class and suffers the wrath of the teacher. Simon quietly apologizes though, but Evan gets mean and promises him serious payback. The day at school ends and Evan has calmed down. Simon is pleased and together they race off to see Mr. Poe, the school's science and computer teacher who's been working on a new computer game for months. They go and see him, finding someone that should never be employed at a school. And he's got a new game. It's VR. And Simon will go first and sit in a chair with a headset on. Right, Mr. Poe character actually feels like it could almost be, if he was a reoccurring one, like on the level of Vink and Sardo. The guy's got energy. He's weird. He stands out. I could almost see that character being someone more important than this, particularly the actor's pretty good at it as well.
I liked him, but at the same time, I kind of felt like it was trying to force it, force like, oh, let's try and make like a new character, maybe kind of thing. Like something a little bit like, I don't know. Sometimes like the eccentric adult character can get a little bit tiresome. See it like very often in these shows.
Okay, okay, I'll give you that. I weirdly though, because of the way this character is basically a bit of a genius, and in a bit we'll like get a phone call from the president. And the way he looks, I ended almost seeing this like an early blueprint for Rick and Morty.
I mean, that'd be one crazy reference there, definitely.
Yeah. So Mr. Poe sets this VR heads up on Simon. Oh my God, it is absolutely disgraceful, this thing. I mean, if you know what VR looks like
Yeah,
now compared to what this device is supposed to be, I don't know how Simon's able to keep his like it's not the way, like weighing his head down.
yeah. As soon as they mentioned the words VR, I just knew this wasn't going to end well straight away.
But yeah, he gets a call from the president and he has to take the call. But he asks Simon to choose a story, and Simon gets to choose three: a trip to Saturn, a trip to the Middle Ages as a knight of the Round Table, or a trip to prehistoric times to see dinosaurs. Now, the idea is you will be able to control the game in your mind and it will feel real. Now, that is incredibly advanced because even, of course, and it's fantastical because even our VR isn't like that.
Bit of a reference to Total Recall there, maybe.
That's a good shout. That's a nice one. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Simon chooses the Knights of the Round Table, the most boring of those three options, of course, because dinosaurs would have been cool and a trip to Saturn would have been interesting. But no, it's. Oh, as soon as I heard Knights of the Round Table, I was like, no, not a goddamn
Oh,
medieval story again.
yeah. I groaned as well.
Thankfully, folks, that doesn't happen because Mr. Poe begins to set it up and has basically tells Evan, look, monitor it while I go speak to the president. That line there is just hilarious. Just as Mr. Poe is about to start the game, he gets a warning message that the computer has a virus in it. But Mr. Poe is able to remove that and starts the game. The game begins, but turns out Simon isn't a knight of the round table. Instead, he is waking up in bed as he normally does. Okay. He figures it was a dream, but quickly things seem odd. Notably, he goes for his basket again, which I guess he must do every morning when he wakes up, but he misses and breaks the window. He then goes out, no one's at home, and he looks around and starts to hear the voices of his family calling him. And we briefly see it sort of appear. It's like a static hologram at the table. And across the house, all odd things continue happening, leading to his father calling him from his office. So Simon, thinking his father's in there, goes in there. It's an interesting sort of sequence here that sets up intrigue. I don't know what's going on as much as he doesn't.
Yeah, it's intriguing.
In his office, the chair spins around, but that is not his father sitting there. It is, I don't even know, a brainiac looking monster. He's silver, his head's exposed. He's filmed up close. He laughs sinisterly all the time, quite evilly. And it's an interesting reveal. But the actor who plays Simon, Christopher Redman, almost ruins this because he reacts. He doesn't even react. This thing turns around and Simon's like, "Who are you?" I was like, "What the hell, dude? That is not how you react to this thing."
I mean, if that was the first take, they should have taken another one and then another one to get the appropriate reaction. But yeah, I do think the imagery of the Renegade Virus is quite well done with the makeup and whatnot. I think it's memorable. It's definitely something that I recall. It's like as soon as I saw it, it was like, yeah, I remember that. So
I agree. The creature reveals that Simon is in cyberspace. He's still in the game, and it is a virus. It reveals to Simon that it plans to get out by using his mind, causing chaos in real life. And we see a paw has been implanted in Simon's hand, but he demands rules as this is a game. The virus agrees and gives him a chance to escape the game and stop it, but he only has 10 minutes to do it. That 10 minutes, we should argue, in the context of the episode, seems longer. But I did actually check. We do actually have about 10 minutes left of the runtime of the episode at this point. So I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Hmm.
But you know what I don't like? The info dump. I know we got to get this information out so we can carry on, but this virus just dumps all this information on Simon and us to
Mm.
set up the second half of the episode. It's annoying, but it also I don't like if you want me to be pedantic about it, it don't make sense. Why does the virus bother telling him anything?
That was a great point. If you just take, if
Why
you,
what
yeah,
yeah,
sure.
why give him a chance to fucking beat you? Why even doesn't make any of this?
Yeah, great point.
Anyway, Simon wakes up for real in Mr. Poe's office, who thinks he's been a knight of the round table. Of course, this isn't what happened, and Simon tries to tell him. But in a very weird scene, Mr. Poe basically gets angry, having been insulted by the suggestion that his system has a virus in, and kicks Simon out. I was like, that is a really, really bad overreaction, dude. Maybe you're not as nice as I thought, because if you're gonna act like that,
Yeah.
dangerous. Walking through the hall, Simon finds that he's been locked in, and he can only watch as Evan and Sonia leave to go to the game together. Simon now looks at his hand and sees the port on it again and realizes he's still in the game. Actually, this mentioned, what did you think of the port in the hand effect?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looked fine. You don't see it like too much. And the brief shots, I thought it looked fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brief shot, it's a flash. You can clearly see how they've done it, but it's such a they don't dwell in it too long.
Mm. Yeah, it looks all right. Yeah.
So he ends up looking inside the window on the door to the computer compartment to see his real self is still wearing the VR headset. So he's basically like looking upon himself. I almost saw this as looking out of a computer screen kind of thing.
Mm.
He tries to call it Evan, but he can't be heard. There's more strange stuff like a glitching. I got a glitching game here, right? The virus is making the game glitch. That's what I thought they were trying to showcase here.
Mm.
And he ends up in a surreal class test that results in him standing there in just his underpants. He runs out, tries to come up with a plan. Thankfully, they put clothes back on him here because I didn't need to see this skinny white ass. He figures that to beat the virus, he needs to get to his computer and find a way to remove it. The virus is here, though, mocking him and pointing out that he only has 5 minutes left. Simon is able to leave the school, though, but finds Evan's bike is locked with a gigantic life-size padlock. He does make it back to his house in time, but finds his computer freaking out. He sits down at the computer, and now, in the twist moment, Evan appears on screen from Mr. Poe's lab, revealing that he was responsible for the virus. This is payback, apparently.
Mm.
Okay. I have so many questions. First off, how is he communicating with him? How is he able to do this? Secondly, we see at the start of this episode the virus being implanted, and that's supposed to clearly happen before any of the events involving the bike, the lock, the girl thing. So why did he want revenge now? Like, what, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I do
Mm.
not understand. This all feels a bit extreme as well. From that, this is like evil behavior from Evan.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. I'm not really. I've got no explanation.
But Evan does agree to shut the virus down if Simon apologizes. But then we go for a
Mm.
scene where Simon just won't apologize. Dude, just say you're sorry. You ain't even got to mean it.
Mm.
When he finally does, Evan isn't convinced, but he reveals that the virus is harmless and can be easily undone. Except it's not, and Simon shows him his hand. And then while all this is going on, we see the virus constantly getting closer. For some reason, I guess he has to obey the laws of the world, like walk places.
Yeah, I guess so.
The virus is in his house and heading upstairs. Evan tries to fix things, but the virus is in control. But Evan tells Simon, "Look, you can abort the program from inside. You just need to enter the code." However, before Evan can tell him it, communications is cut. Oh no!
Drama.
Simon tries to figure it out just as the virus bursts in the door, and Simon realizes the code is Evan's locker combination. How? Wow! How? What? Okay, isn't that lucky?
Convenient.
The code is entered, but Simon can't press the last key to confirm it as the virus wraps him up in cables and gets ready. Now, I really like this to connect to him. So it pulls its hand
Mm.
to reveal an input port, which will connect to Simon's output port. Now, there is an error here. Is if you look at, and it's a really, really silly one, but like if you look at both ends of the ports, they could never actually fit together.
Mm. Yeah.
But I love the idea. I think it's really creepy.
Definitely, I thought there was some nice tension throughout this whole scene actually, and the renegade character, I could see him being quite scary to the younger kids. Also, have you ever seen the TV show called Dexter by any chance?
I haven't, but obviously I know of it. Dexter's a serial killer, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, there's a character in it. His name's Masuka. If you've seen anyone that's seen the show, they'll know the character. But anyway, he does this
Yep.
very recognizable laugh. It's kind of done for comedic effect. And I found the Renegade's laugh in this to be very, very reminiscent of that laugh. So it kind of took me the tension out of it for me, just random thought there. But also,
Fair enough.
but still, like credit to the actor that playing the Renegade. I thought he was doing like a great job of like trying to be as like crazy and scary as possible.
I like his voice and I like his laugh. I think it's got a nice gravelly growl to it.
Hmm.
But basically, this ends with Simon able to free an arm and hit any key and destroy the virus. Back in the real world, Simon and Evan make up and Evan apologizes, but we actually see that they're going to carry on being like playing tricks on each other as Simon runs off to get his bike, take his bike. What? But for some reason, we have a twist in the tale as a custodian rolls on by with like his bin bucket, and the camera pans to it, and we see what looks to be the hand of the virus gripping the inside of it. So I guess it got out. I don't care. I kind of checked out at this point. I'd lost interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's another example of an episode like we had just recently where they've tacked something on at the end for like a twist, I guess. But then it's like they'll never ever continue the story in any way. Will it be mentioned ever again? So it's just completely pointless to have that on there because it doesn't add anything. Like you said, it doesn't really make any sense. And unless they were planning like a sequel down the line, but they're not. So
Back at the camp, Tucker tries to imply forgiveness as the moral of the story, but Gary reveals he knows Tucker is to blame and suggests that actually he's already put the virus in his computer now. And this results in Tucker running off and everyone laughing at him. And that is episode 1, The Tale of Renegade Virus. I'm in the middle in this one. You were right at the start. It is not Gary's worst. And there are elements I really like, as you say, from the creation of the virus to some of the imagery. Even the overarching plot isn't the worst idea. A virus that basically screws up VR is an interesting idea. And a virus that becomes self-aware and wants to escape to the real world, I don't mind that. They overcomplicate it by making it about Evan and some sort of weird revenge plot. They overcomplicate other elements of it and make and have to write the virus in a way to make it realistic and fair for Simon to even have a chance here in a way that ends up by the end just frustrating me. So that's why I end up sort of sitting in the middle of this one. I don't like the ending either.
yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it there. But I do agree that like I don't like in things when they introduce a villain who's like they act like is like super powered and like has control over like a whole like domain and can basically do what they want, but then they don't really like display that, or like you said, he does things that like make him getting the villain's goal, like getting to it a lot harder for themselves for like
Yeah.
no good reason. So yeah, I mean that does take away from it. But as you said, it's no pinball wizard. So, there's that too.
It's such a low bar for Gary that this just is automatically raised. That's crazy.
It might just get over his very low bar. That's about it.
We've not always had the best starts to a season either. So I will take an episode like this where at least I was engaged for the most part. Then one like God, what was the one with Bobcat Goldthwait in it? That was season two's opening one. That
Yeah,
that that was
yeah.
that was a yeah.
Hmm.
Episode 1 of season 4, The Tale of the Renegade Virus. You got any thoughts on this you want to share? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.